Name's Kristen Wilson. I'm a success coach here at Goodwill, and today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about virtual interviewing. Because of the nature of where we're at right now, it's going to become more and more common for you to have interviews over the phone or through video. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to help you nail your next interview. So it can be really tempting when you get these virtual interviews to do them when you're laying in bed or in your pajamas. And that's one thing you really want to avoid. You want to be very mindful of the room you're in and how you're presented, because if it's a video interview, they'll still be able to see you. So you're going to want to make sure that you're dressed like you would if you were going to an interview in person. You're also going to want to think about your phone reception. You're going to want to be somewhere where you can take the call and know that you most likely won't have the call be dropped, and you won't be where there's a lot of distractions, dogs barking, kids crying. You're going to want to limit that kind of disruptions. So you also are going to want to make sure that you have a pen and paper with you so you can take some notes of things you want to look back on when you send a thank you note after the interview. You also will want a copy of the resume you sent them, as well as the cover letter if you sent that as well, and a job description. If by the time you have the interview scheduled, you don't have the description anymore, you can just ask them to send it with you when they are scheduling the interview for you. And so use this time to really prep, practice. This is one benefit when you are doing the virtual interviewing, that you can look back at the job description and really make sure you answer those questions well. So now I just want to go over a couple of do's and don'ts. So do's. You are going to want to pick an outfit that makes you feel good and put together. And you're going to want to find a quiet place with good reception. You want to keep your responses short and to the point. You don't need to ramble on when you're in a virtual interview, as well as you want to take notes. Take your time. It's okay to take a deep breath or a couple moments before you answer a question. And it's always important to have some questions ready for the interview at the end of it. So you could ask them, what are the next steps? You could ask them what a typical day in their office is. Or considering about all the work from home, you can ask if that's ever a possibility as well. And now for some don'ts. So you're not going to want to be smoking, eating, chewing gum, or drinking anything. You might want to have a glass of water handy in case you get a tickle and you start to cough. This way you can help yourself. But other than that, you're going to want to keep it really limited. So you're going to want to be mindful that you're not interrupting the interviewer. Make sure that they're able to finish the question they're asking you before you cut in. And you're also going to want to make sure you're not in a distracting environment. So you're not going to want to be somewhere where the rest of your family's at and might call your attention, because this is an interview, so you're going to need to schedule some time. So maybe if you have kids, you have someone take the kids out for an hour, so you have the house to yourself to do an interview. Or if you have an animal, you put them outside or you put them in another room so you can just focus solely on this interview. And some common scenarios that might happen that you guys might want to prep for. So if your video or audio stops working, this would be one that before the interviewer, you email them and ask for a phone number where you can reach them in case you guys experience technical difficulties, because sometimes video calls, they cut out. You can't get back in the meeting. You don't want that person to think that you just hung up and didn't want to be a part of the meeting. So this way, if something happens, you get disconnected, you can call them by the phone and see if they would like to continue by the phone or if they can reschedule. So if you do have noise that does interrupt your conversation, whether it's someone else coming in, quickly apologize to the interviewer and ask for a few moments for yourself so you can kind of get things back on order. And you might want to press mute on the screen as well, just so if it's really loud, the interviewer doesn't need to hear that noise as well. If someone comes into the interview, you can do a similar thing, ask for a moment, turn your microphone off, and then ask the person to please leave the room, give you a couple minutes so you can finish up. Now, after your interview, since by then you will have most likely been communicating with them by email, you would want to send a nice thank you note to the interviewer. This would be your time to bring up things you found interesting during the interview or anything you might have left out that would make you a good candidate. Be sure to add that in there. And you want to send out that thank you to the interviewer within a day or two. You don't want to really delay on that because it helps in their decision making that you really want this job and you're going through the extra effort. So some common questions that you might have while you're interviewing, they might ask you, what are your strengths? So they're looking for in this moment what skills you have that would be an asset to their company. So what's about you that's going to make you stand out? When they ask what's your greatest weakness, this one wants to see kind of that you're self-aware and open to improvement. They're not looking for you to say, oh, nothing, I'm perfect at everything, because the interviewer is going to know that's not true. Everyone has some faults. So it's good to pick one that can also be a positive and as well. So you can be like, I'm a perfectionist, so I always make sure I get the job done well. So it's still a negative, but it looks like a positive to the employer. When they say, why'd you leave your last job? Never badmouth your employer. It doesn't look good on you. So if you left because you didn't like where you were going, you could just say you were looking for more growth and opportunities than you had available to you there. And when they say, tell me about yourself, they don't want to hear about when you were born. You don't need to say about your marital status, if you've killed children or anything like that. You need to keep it relevant to the job. So talk about any relevant education, trainings, or work experience. That's what they're looking for when they ask that. Another question you might get is, why do you want to work here? So don't say something, well, I need work. That's not going to make you stand out and help them get to know you in any way. So this is your way to just kind of talk up their company, make them feel good and enthusiastic on why you want to be there. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is them just gauging, where does this person see themselves? Is this going to be someone who will stay at our company long term, or someone that's going to be here really quick and they might not want to hire you because they'll be losing money that they put in training you and everything else. So this is your time that you say, I'm looking to hopefully have more responsibilities in a leadership role. You could say, if you're in a manufacturing field, you could say you'd hope to be kind of the lead for that shift. They just want to make sure that the goals you have for yourself are in line with the company's. And what motivates you? They might ask you that. This is one that there's no right answer. They're just trying to think like what your passions are and if it's in line with the company goals. So use their company values as a guide for you to answering the question. If you guys have any other questions about these, you can always set up to do a mock interview with some of us staff members at Goodwill, and we will assist you how we can. But that's the real basic version of virtual interviewing. It was a pleasure teaching you. Thank you so much. Bye.